Hot as Hades in the Tar Heel State. Yogi Clan, what's up? Welcome back to Yogi Cycle Service. I'm your host, Yogi. And just who is Yogi? Well, that's what we're going to talk about today. Who the heck is Yogi? I recorded this video this morning on the way to work and had some technical difficulties, so I got zero audio. So we're going to attempt to do this again. I figured it's a ride home. It's a beautiful day. I'm on the motorcycle. So let's talk. So exactly who is Yogi? Yogi's a 47-year-old pop. About to be a pop. Actually, just found that news out a little over a month ago. Gonna have a grandkid. Gonna be the first. So what got me to this point? Who am I and what got me to this point? So I was born in Seattle. Lived out there with my parents till I was about 5. Moved back to Pennsylvania where my grandparents, both sets of grandparents, lived in Pennsylvania in the eastern side over towards Reading. Moved back there, grew up there, left and went to school and went to college at Syracuse University where I met my wife. But as a kid growing up in Pennsylvania, we lived on a 55-acre farm with an old stone farmhouse from about 1839 is when we think it was built. It was built by William Penn, the founder of Pennsylvania, his daughter, I believe. Built by her. And it was awesome growing up there. I grew up, moved there when I was about 13. And got a four-wheeler. It was a used four-wheeler, a quad sport, 250 quad sport. And it had a clutch and a twist grip. It was awesome. So that was my foray into how a motorcycle was set up. It was a kick start, not an electric start. And let me tell you, I learned how to use a clutch quick, because if not, you were kick starting that bugger, and if you didn't get it, if you didn't have everything right, you'd flood it out and you'd be kicking forever. So I grew up on that four-wheeler. My neighbors' kids had dirt bikes, so it was either riding that four-wheeler or a 125 or a 250 dirt bike. So I grew up on dirt bikes and four-wheelers. Went to school at college, met my wife there, bought my first street bike. It was a 79 Kawasaki 650 and started learning on street bikes. But you know, having that four-wheeler as a kid, I did all the maintenance myself. You know, I changed the oils, I greased the chains, changed brake pads, you know, did all the maintenance myself. And that's really how I kind of started working and wrenching on bikes, was wrenching on that bike. Got to college, didn't have a whole lot of tools at college. You know, I was a poor broke college kid, so I didn't really have a whole lot of tools. So that 79 Kawasaki, I never really did a whole lot of work on it, just because I didn't have the stuff to do it. Wound up marrying my wife, moving from Syracuse, New York down to Charlotte, North Carolina, starting a family. At that point in time, I was when we started the family, I was working in construction. Then I decided, you know, I need to get a real job. Let's go this way. So I decided to use my finance degree, got into banking, was a banker, doing commercial lending for about 10 years until the economy went into the toilet. The 3 of us commercial bankers got laid off at the same time. So then I went back to construction, which was not doing well either, because no one was building anything. So specifically, I got back to demolition. And I've been doing demolition for, well, since 2010, I guess, for the past 9 years, acting as both an estimator and a project manager. And along that trip, we wound up having 4 biological kids. And then one day, my wife said, "Hey, what do you think about adoption?" I said, "Well, sure. I guess so." I thought our family was complete, but, you know, if the Lord's putting it on your heart, you know, you followed me down here to North Carolina when that was on my heart, so who am I to say no? I said, but the only stipulation that I would say is, you know, we don't adopt kids that are like, you know, the kids that everybody clamors for. I want the kids that nobody clamors for, you know. kids that are often overlooked. So that could be special needs, it could be teenagers, it could be foster care, it could be, wow, traffic is thick. I think we're going to go out and pop a U-turn. Or maybe we'll just dive right here. I don't know what we're going to do yet. Traffic is thick. Welcome to Charlotte. I think we'll go up here and bang a U in Wendy's. So, let's not go for the cream of the crop kids. Let's go for the kids that, other people don't necessarily go for. So we became licensed foster parents. We're going through the foster system, the foster and adopt. Wound up getting 2 half-sisters. The father of one of them wound up doing what he needed to do to get custody back of one, but didn't for the other. So she became free and clear to adopt. So we wound up adopting her, and that was our first adoption. And my wife found a young man in China who had cleft lip and palate, was abandoned when he was only a couple months old. They never knew his birth parents, never knew his name, didn't even know his date of birth. They just kind of assigned it to him at the orphanage. Wound up, and Chinese kids age out of the China system at age 14. And we adopted him, finished the adoption on the day before his 14th birthday. Sorry, this visor makes a lot of noise. I need to get a new one. Adopted him day before his 14th birthday, and before we even finished that adoption, she found 2 more in Ukraine. Special needs, a boy with Down syndrome and a young girl. He was like 2, and a young girl who we believe has fetal alcohol, plus a whole bunch of other stuff, hydrocephalus, strabismus, and everything else that you can throw into the bag of tricks. Wound up adopting them, met some more kids through a hosting program, adopted them, and then went back to get their friends, plus another young boy with Down syndrome who was not even 2 at the time. And then hosted again and met a girl who was just beautiful inside and out, decided to adopt her, and brought an extra one home with her. Got referred to another kid while we were there. So we've adopted in total 11 kids. We have 4 biological kids. 8 of those kids come from Ukraine. 2 of them come from China. 1 comes from the North Carolina foster care system. So what turned into, sure, let's adopt one, rapidly multiplied. How I got to where I am today with that, I really have no idea. I couldn't tell you. It just kind of happened. The opportunity was in front of us. It was put on our hearts, and the Lord connected all the dots financially for us. So the cost of adoption was not a hindrance. And people ask me, well, do you get money from the state for these kids? Nope. I don't get anything. This is all on me how we do this. The only thing we ever got help with was the initial cost of the adoption, and that's where Sacred Selections came into play, and why we do that run that you heard me talk about in the spring called the Orphan Run, is to really help get those kids into homes and with forever families. So for my wife and I, everybody has their thing, right? Everybody has their thing that they believe in, that they put their time in, they invest time into. Well, for me and my wife, it's James 1:27, to care for the widow and the orphan, because this is pure and undefiled religion before the sight of the Lord. And really, it's not necessarily for the widow, but it's more pointed towards the orphan. And I realize I can't adopt the world, but you know what? I can advocate. I can try to find kids a home. So my wife has become part of a group called Open Hearts and Homes, and it's a hosting agency. They bring kids over every summer and every winter from both Latvia and Ukraine, so that they can be hosted by families, so they can be shown the love of family, the love of Christ, and just, give them a break. Because let's face it, when you go over there to those orphanages, you walk into that door, there are 300 kids in that dormitory. It's usually like one big dorm. There are 300 kids. There may be, 15 kids per room. And there's no parents. Those kids don't have parents. You know, they're 7 years old, 10 years old, 14 years old. You know, Ukraine goes up to 16. Like I said, China goes to 14. So at age 16, you know, you either go off to a trade school and they stick you into, like, you're going to learn plumbing, you're going to learn welding, here you go, take it or leave it. Or you go live on the streets. And if you're living on the streets, what are you doing at a 16-year-old kid living on? You're not getting a job. If you're lucky, you get a job. If you're unlucky, you know, you're getting into crime. And I heard a statistic that, you know, I don't remember what the percentage was. It was quite high, though. Like 40% of, or 70% of the kids, the boys, turn to drugs. Like 80% of the girls turn to prostitution. And like 40% of them are dead before the age of 21. And those statistics at first surprised me, but when I talked to my kids and found out some of their stories and heard about some of their friends, I would say those statistics are fairly accurate. As sad as it is. A little gold medal flake helmet on that fella. So it's really pretty sad. And when you walk in and you see that firsthand, how can you, and you see those faces, and you can put faces and names to people and know that you know what their future looks like, more than likely. I mean, you don't know for sure. I mean, some kids, you know, have no problems. Like one of our daughters, her older sister, wound up getting into college, going to school for accounting and bookkeeping, and I think she now works at some doctor's office as like the bookkeeper, you know, so she's doing okay, and she's gonna be getting married this fall. You know, I think she's 26 now, but she's doing all right, you know. So it's, I mean, surely it's not, you know, a horrible story for everyone, but Ukraine is one of the top 8 countries in the world for sex trafficking. You know, they take these girls, when graduation day comes, the pimps wait basically out by the gates, and sometimes, you know, they'll pay money for these girls to the directors to get these kids as soon as they graduate, and they promise them, you know, wow, you're going to go do modeling, we're going to take you all around the world and do modeling. What do? They take them down to Turkey, they take them down to Greece, and they put them in a hotel room and they pimp them out. Happens all the time. All the time. Because for Russians, 2 big tourist areas are Turkey and Greece. And for Europeans. And you know, for a tourist going into a hotel and, hey, you know, here's this prostitute, it's this 18-year-old girl that speaks Russian. You know, unfortunately for some men, that is something that they indulge in. And it's sad for these girls and sad for these kids. So we've gotten into orphans and orphan ministry. So that's kind of like what makes me tick, and who I am and what I'm all about. You know, I love each and every one of my kids. You know, I never thought I would be a father to a special need kid, and you know, we have 3 special needs kids. We have 1 kid with HIV, we have 1 kid with epilepsy. You know, we got a host of different things going on in our house, which means a lot of doctor's appointments that my wife is, bless her heart, always going to the doctor, running a kid to the doctor. Thank the Lord for insurance, because I don't know how we'd do it. I really don't. And we are blessed though. And you know, I have people ask me all the time, man, how can you afford 15 kids? And my answer to that is, I don't know. I really don't. You do what you got to do. You know, that's just what you do. That means I don't drive brand new cars. You know, I don't even have a car. My car is my company work truck. If I lost my job tomorrow, I wouldn't have a car. I'd be stuck to riding my motorcycles everywhere. My wife has a car. It's a 2009 Honda minivan, Honda Odyssey. My daughter has a car only through the generosity of my parents, who said, hey, we don't want this anymore. Do you want it? Yeah. And my son, he just bought his own car, $2,500. You know, so we buy used cars. We don't have new cars. But just I can't afford that monthly payment. You know, that's partially why I opened Yogi Cycle Service, was to bring a little bit of extra income to the family, because it's hard, cuz trying to raise. Now, I don't have 15 kids in the house anymore. We did for a very long time. I think we have 11 in the house right now. One of those 11 is home from college. She'll be leaving to go back into college in August. Another one just graduated this year. She'll be leaving to go to college also in August. I think that'll put me at 9 in the house. Actually, one just moved back in, so that'll be 10. So I think I have 12 in the house right now. But bro, that's a lot of mouths to feed, you know? My grocery bill is like $400 every week. That's $1,600 a month in groceries. And then we have the mortgage payment. We don't have any car payments. Like I said, we buy them used. But, you know, you shop as cheap as you can. You hit Aldi's, you hit Target, you do the cartwheel thing at Target, and you shop as cheap as you can. You're blessed by many people. All the time. I get more free kids' clothes than I can keep up with. And my kids' drawers are like overflowing with clothes. And honestly, we just really need to go through it and pay it forward and give it to other families. We get more free clothes than I can count. So we are blessed. There are things that we don't go out to eat a lot because I can't. We go to McDonald's and hit the dollar menu. If every kid gets 4 things, 12 kids, 2 adults, that's 14 people at $4 items. That's still $60. 14, 15, let's just call it 15 times 4. That's still $60 at the dollar menu at McDonald's. I mean, holy crap. Now, if I took everybody out for a $10 meal, let's say we went to Applebee's. Everybody got a burger and a drink, and it was $10 a person. That'd be $160. Yeah, I can't do that. So we don't go out to eat very often. If we do, it's only when, hey, all the kids are gone, we only have 2 kids at home, let's go out to eat. Because that's all I can really afford to do. So you don't go out to eat. You don't take many vacations. And if you do, you try to find something special that's cheap. So we don't really do vacations. We don't go out to eat. We do try to have a lot of fun though. All the kids, at one point in time, we had 8 kids playing soccer. Might have been 9. We had 8 soccer games every single Saturday. So yeah, so we're always busy. There are always activities. Now that the kids are getting older, some of them are working and are actually starting to help contribute back into the family, pay for their car insurance, pay a little bit towards food. You're 19, 20, 21 years old. If you're going to college, I'm not going to make you pay much. But if you're not going to college and you're living at home, dude, you got to start kicking in. Because you cost money and you ain't living here for free. And it's my house, my rules. You're welcome to stay as long as you follow them. Most of them do not have problems with that. Some of them do. That's why some moved out. But that's okay. It's not easy, but you balance it. You make things happen. But as a kid, I was pretty much an only child until I was 13. My wife was an only child. So for her and I, this is all new. All new learning and living experience. And let me tell you, adoption is tough. It is not easy. But I'm often asked too, can you love an adoptive child as much as you do a biological child? And I'll tell a quick story while we're fighting traffic here. One of the girls has epilepsy, and she had a massive seizure one day at school. Wife gets a call and said, hey, she had a massive seizure. They're calling the ambulance, and I'm going to school. I'll meet you there. So I hopped in the car. I was at work, left work early. I'm flying to the school, and I'm just in tears thinking, and we had this girl, she had been in our house for about 4 years at this point in time. And I'm thinking that we're going to lose her because she had a massive seizure and she's going to check out. And just the thought of potentially losing her, I don't think the fear in my heart would have been any greater for a biological child than it was for her, an adoptive child. It was at that point forward that I knew, yes, absolutely, you can love a kid who's adopted as much as you can a biological kid. People always say to me, oh man, you're such a saint, I couldn't do what I do. I'm like, yeah, you could. because I am no special than anybody else. There's nothing special about me, nothing at all. I just have a lot of kids, that's it. I just decided to say yes and bring kids into my home. But that does not make me or my wife special, doesn't make me saints, doesn't make us angels, doesn't make us nothing other than parents of 15 kids. That's all there is. I've had offers for TV shows. I had to kind of giggle about that. Offers for TV? Yeah, no, I don't think so. I don't want my dirty laundry aired out on TV. Oh, we'll keep that all in the closet where nobody can see it. We're good. So it's been a trip. It's been a great experience. Been a lot of hard times along the way, but there've been a lot of good times along the way. And part of that, I got to spend pretty much off and on a total of a year in Ukraine. I love that country, love the people. Love it so much, I got my Slava Ukraine tattoo in Ukraine, in Kherson. So that's a little bit about me, a little bit about what makes me tick, a little bit about the things that I'm into. And you know, I figured the times where I do vlogging is a good time to be able to bring some of this information to you, kind of let you know what's up with my life, what's going on. Oh, speaking of which, speaking of open hearts and homes and hosting, it is summertime. And that means that a plane full of Ukrainian and Latvian teens will be coming over to the States to be hosted. And tomorrow night at 7:30, I gotta be at the Charlotte airport because we're gonna be hosting 2 Latvian boys. Now, are these kids free for adoption? I don't know. I don't know much about them. I just know that there are 2 teenage brothers, and they're coming to our house for like 4 or 5 weeks. The thing about Latvia is, though, they do not allow any pictures on social media of these kids. They're very private who these kids are, so I can't show them on this channel, nor can I post anything on Instagram or Facebook about them, unfortunately, which makes it a whole lot harder to advocate for them if I can't go, hey, look, there are these 2 boys and they need a family. Help me find them a family. But you do what you got to do. So if any of y'all are interested in ever hosting a child from Latvia or Ukraine, it is approximately about $3,000 to host a child. That helps pay for their plane tickets, for their passports, for their visas, and everything that they need to travel to and from the U.S. That's what makes Yogi who he is. Motorcycles, kids, and family. Never thought I'd ever be in this place, but hey, here I am. So that's about all my ramblings I had for now. It's probably long enough. I hope you all have a wonderful weekend. I'm probably going to take the fat boy tomorrow to Iron Saturday. And if I do, I don't know, I might record a safety tip along the way, or maybe just do another random vlog about what's going on in life. So take care, y'all. Have a wonderful day. God bless, and I'll talk to you soon. Peace.